Scheffler, and certainly giving a boost to the rest of the players.
Rose is away.
Justin Rose just telling the caddy of Bryson DeChambeau, Greg Bodine, to get out of his way as he was reading his putt.
The Ryder Cup was meant to showcase golf's finest moments, but Bryson DeChambeau just turned it into a primetime drama. A heated clash between his caddy and Justin Rose on the 15th hole sent emotions spiraling out of control. Players, caddies, and even team officials jumped into the chaos. Bryson didn't hold back either. His response was sharp and personal, firing right at the question of respect. Was it competitive fire or pure ego? Stick around, because this rivalry just crossed the line from sport to spectacle. It began with a single misstep, literally. Greg Bodine, DeChambeau's trusted caddy, accidentally stepped into Justin Rose's putting line on the 15th. In golf, that's nearly a cardinal sin. Rose immediately called him out, though even he admitted later he might have said it a bit too harshly. Translation: Rose lost his cool. And Bryson, never one to stay silent, jumped to defend his man, throwing words back at Rose as they walked off the green. That's when the tension snapped. Tommy Fleetwood wasn't about to watch his teammate stand alone. He stepped right up face to face with Bryson. On the US side, things heated up fast too. Scottie Scheffler's caddy, Ted Scott, had words for Francesco Molinari, who was tailing the match as Europe's vice-captain. Suddenly, it didn't feel like a golf event anymore. It looked like reality TV spilling onto the fairway. Each stride toward the 16th tee felt more like a slow walk into a prize fight than a polite stroll between holes. The wild part? None of it had to do with birdies or bogeys. It was all about pride, or depending on who you ask, disrespect. By the time they reached the next tee, the scene had shifted from Ryder Cup competition to an outright standoff with golf bags.
Don't put your hands on me. We saw tensions flaring at the Ryder Cup. We saw Scottie Scheffler, Bryson DeChambeau paired up with Tommy Fleetwood and Justin Rose. Justin Rose was not happy where Jibo, Bryson's caddy, was standing when it was Justin Rose's turn.
Rose had said his piece, Fleetwood had backed him up, and Bryson was boiling. Spectators swore they could practically see the heat radiating from under his cap as he fired back at the Europeans. Golf's reputation for calm and composure nearly vanished right there. Scheffler tried to keep his cool, but even he couldn't ignore the storm swirling around him. And Molinari? He wasn't just a bystander, he was jawing right back at Ted Scott. The crowd picked up on every glare, mutter, and aggressive tug of a glove, turning whispers into roars. By the time Rose and Fleetwood sealed the match on the 16th, the post-game handshake looked like a replay of that infamous Oscars moment, stiff, forced, and dripping with tension. Afterward, Rose tried to cool things down, saying he regretted sounding harsh and meant no harm. But Bryson wasn't letting it go. At that point, it wasn't about manners or golf etiquette. It was about territory, loyalty, and sending a message.
And while those guys are finishing up, Bryson DeChambeau is battling back from being down 5 through 7 holes, and he ends up tying his match. Like, in Europe's eyes, they probably think the Ryder Cup should be over after those 3 matches.
Which side are you on? Bryson defending his teammate or Rose standing his ground? Tell us in the comments, because this clash just overshadowed the scoreboard. And then came the biggest wild card of all, the crowd. Farmingdale, New York has a reputation for rowdy golf fans, and this Ryder Cup lived up to it. American supporters jeered, taunted, and mocked every European swing, turning what should have been a golf match into something closer to a wrestling spectacle. But Team Europe didn't flinch. If anything, they seemed to feed off the noise. Fleetwood and Rose responded with clutch shots and smirks, almost daring the crowd to go louder, as if to say, "That all you got?" The tension between Bryson and Rose may have started with a simple caddy mistake, but the atmosphere poured gasoline on the fire. Every missed US putt sent the Long Island fans into a frenzy, and Europe didn't just endure it, they turned it into fuel. When the round ended, Europe held a massive 11.5 to 4.5 lead heading into the final day. The crowd had thrown everything at them, and instead of breaking, Europe weaponized the chaos. That leaves one big question. Was Bryson's anger really aimed at Rose, or was it frustration watching Team USA collapse in front of its own fans? Because if the crowd was loud, the players were louder.
There's going to be some laughs in that Euro team room later.
Yeah, look at Ted Scott. Ted Scott is irritated big time. And that is Francesco Molinari that Ted Scott is jawing at.
What began as a quick scolding became a shouting match that echoed across Bethpage Black. Bryson, known for his booming drives and even louder opinions, wasn't letting Rose's tone go unchecked. Rose, just as fiery, pushed right back. Then Fleetwood jumped in, adding his trademark intensity and turning the argument into a full-blown standoff. Add Molinari jawing with Ted Scott, and suddenly the air was filled with voices clashing from both the fairway and the gallery. It didn't feel like golf anymore. It felt like a courtroom showdown without a judge, just pure unfiltered chaos. Both sides were convinced the other had crossed a line. Every caddy believed he was defending something sacred, the honor of his player. The irony? Bryson and Rose both finished that hole with simple pars. The actual golf vanished behind the shouting match. When reporters later asked Rose if things had boiled over, he called it intense but respectful. Respectful. Maybe if raised voices, finger pointing, and half the team stepping in counts as polite conversation.
And there was some more like chatter and chirping happening. It turned into an full-blown altercation. It turns into like all-out yelling match. Out of nowhere, Ted Scott comes flying in, and then Francisco Molinari gets in, vice captain. He kind of steps in and like tries to move Ted Scott out of the way.
The truth was obvious. Words became weapons, and no one left that green looking clean. If you'd been in that New York crowd, would you have booed Europe or cheered on the chaos? Drop your take in the comments and hit subscribe, because this feud might outlast the tournament itself. When US captain Keegan Bradley spoke afterward, his tone hinted there was more beneath the surface. "I think it got a little disrespectful," he admitted, before softening it by reminding everyone that Rose had already apologized. But by then the damage was done. Once the word respect gets thrown into golf, it sticks, because in this sport manners and character are everything. Bryson stepping up for Bodine wasn't just about defending a teammate, it was about drawing a line in the sand. "You don't talk to my guy like that." Europe, though, brushed it off. Rose's outburst, they said, was just passion in the heat of the moment. Molinari even joked later that it was part of the Ryder Cup's fire. But fans didn't see it that way. Social media exploded with slowed-down clips, dramatic replays, and endless debates about who went too far.
He's like, "Don't put your hands on me."
At the end of the day, I think Justin Rose was just doing his thing. He was being a He didn't have to do all that. At the end with this interview, he wants to be all sarcastic and be like, "What did you want me to say? Excuse me, please." Like,
I didn't think anybody was gonna fist fight, but I could see like a gentleman's shove.
Respect wasn't just questioned anymore. It became the headline, the trend, the viral takeaway. Once respect became the headline, the golf itself stopped mattering. The shots, the putts, the stats, all of it was overshadowed by the noise. What survived were the replays, the tweets, and the endless hot takes dissecting every glare and muttered word. This weekend was supposed to be America's redemption story, a statement on home soil that Europe's reign was over. Instead, it became a public unraveling. Europe surged to an 11-4.5 lead by Saturday, and Team USA looked less like a united front and more like a collection of frustrated individuals. What started as one heated exchange between Bryson and Rose turned into a symbol of everything off in the American camp. Bruised egos, fractured focus, and a crowd that couldn't intimidate the opposition no matter how hard they tried. Meanwhile, Europe didn't just endure the chaos, they embraced it. The more the boos rained down, the stronger they played. Rose's comment that there was no bad intent might have been his way to close the book, but Bryson's eyes told a different story, one of rivalry and resentment simmering just beneath the surface. For a tournament built on pride, the Americans were watching that pride crumble in real time. What was supposed to be a showcase of dominance turned into a case study in dysfunction. Team Europe, on the other hand, thrived in the heat. Cool, collected, almost amused by the chaos unfolding around them. And as the cameras zoomed in on Bryson's glare, one thing became clear: this feud wasn't ending with the final score. It was becoming part of Ryder Cup history, the kind fans would debate for years. By the time the dust settled, it was clear this Ryder Cup had transformed from a golf event into a full-blown drama. Respect, rivalry, ego, it all clashed beneath the spotlight. Europe's players turned insults into adrenaline. The Americans, meanwhile, looked haunted by their own expectations. Every tense moment, every muttered word became another reminder that golf's most prestigious stage can also expose its deepest cracks. This wasn't about putts anymore, it was about identity. For Team USA, the weekend became a mirror showing their weaknesses: pressure, unity, composure. Bryson's defense of his caddy wasn't just loyalty, it was a desperate stand for dignity in a moment when everything else seemed to slip away. And Europe, they knew how to twist the tension, turning every confrontation into energy. Rose's calm response after the chaos sealed the narrative. They had won the mental game long before the final round. The Ryder Cup is supposed to celebrate sportsmanship, but this one revealed the truth. Even golf's clean image can crack when pride takes over. Whether or not the US rebounds in future cups, this moment will linger. The images of players and caddies squaring up, hurling words like clubs, will outlast the scorecards. This wasn't a tournament, it was theater, live and unscripted. The rivalry between Bryson and Rose might fade, but the echo of that weekend, the tension, the stares, the roar of the crowd will echo across fairways for years. So what do you think? Was this passion or pettiness? Can Team USA recover from a feud that exposed more than just tempers? Drop your thoughts below, because one thing's certain, the next Ryder Cup won't just be about golf, it'll be about redemption.